Veena from Cake, the channel that's about baking and much more. Here's where you'll find quick and tasty recipes for new cooks and those with less time to spend in the kitchen. And if you're looking for authentic ingredient proportions and all the essential instructions for each recipe, you've come to the right place. Okay then, let's get cracking with today's recipe. Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to bake something that's become an integral part of our regular Indian meals, Ladi Pavs or pull-apart rolls. If you love pav dishes like vada pav, keema pav or pav bhaji and want to learn how to bake Ladi Pavs, this is just the recipe you need to confidently make these fluffy pull-apart rolls at home. We'll prepare the simple bread dough by hand, and we'll bake the rolls in the oven as well as on the stovetop. This recipe comes with a twist and also easy step-by-step instructions. And I'll walk you through every crucial step till the end, right here at Cake. For today's recipe, we'll need maida, instant yeast, sugar, salt, oil, warm water, warm milk, some sweetened milk and a little butter. The link to the ingredients and recipe details is in the description box below. We'll begin by adding 1/3 of a cup of barely lukewarm water and 2 teaspoons of sugar to a bowl. The sugar will act as food for the yeast, which we'll be using to make our bread dough rise. Now let's add in 1 1/4 teaspoons of instant yeast. You can use either instant yeast or active dry yeast in today's recipe. If you're using active dry yeast, however, make that 1 3/4 teaspoons. For those who are new to working with yeast, let me explain that instant yeast acts faster than active dry yeast. Also, instant yeast doesn't have to be proofed or activated beforehand, so we'll be keeping the yeast mix aside for just a couple of minutes. But if you're going to use active dry yeast, you'll have to keep it aside for around 10 minutes because you have to first activate it in the warm liquid and let it froth. Okay, now let's cover this bowl and turn to our flour. In this bowl, I have 2 1/4 cups of maida or all-purpose flour. To this, I'll add 1 teaspoon of salt. You could add less salt if you want. Let's mix these two with a whisk. Next, of the 3 tablespoons of oil I have here, I'll add 2 1/2 tablespoons to the yeast mix. I'll also add in a 1/4 cup of lukewarm milk. Let's give this a stir with a wooden spoon. You could use a spatula instead. We'll now mix in the flour in 2 parts. What we want is a slightly sticky dough. So here's what I do to be able to get this right. I begin with less water. That is, I don't add all the water we need for the recipe in one go at the start. So now we'll add in extra water, a little at a time, till the dough gets to the right consistency. It's getting there. Now let's add 1 more tablespoon of water. So that makes it 4 tablespoons in all. I'll dust my work surface lightly with flour and transfer the dough to it. It's now time to add the remaining half tablespoon of oil. and around a teaspoon or more of flour. If at this stage your dough happens to be too sticky, add some more flour to it. If it's too firm, then add more water. You might not need to add the same amount of extra water or flour that I've added today, but your dough will have to be of a similar consistency. Remember, when it comes to making bread, you don't need strictly accurate measurements. What's important is getting the consistency of the dough right, okay? So knead the dough for 4 minutes or so, the way I'm doing it, till it's smooth and no longer sticks to your fingers. Now, a gentle reminder here. I'll be posting new videos around once a week. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel as yet, I urge you to do it right away. The notification bell will alert you every time I post another one of my quick and tasty recipes. Now let's shape it into a ball and transfer it back to the same bowl after we lightly oil it from inside. Let's drizzle some oil on the dough ball too and pat it down gently. I'll cover the bowl and keep it to rise in a warm place in my kitchen till it doubles in size. This could take an hour or so. Now here's our dough after an hour and 10 minutes. Let's sprinkle a little flour on it and deflate it. I'll now transfer it to my flour dusted work surface. At this stage, the dough needs to be handled gently. Pull the edges in and then shape it into a log. Divide this into 3 parts. And then divide each one into 3 smaller parts. Shape each of these 9 portions one by one, flattening each one, pulling the edges together, turning it over, shaping it into a ball, and then transferring it to a greased and flour dusted 8-inch square pan. Interestingly, paos weren't always one of our staple foods. They were brought to India around 5 centuries ago by the Portuguese, who first introduced Goans to the craft of baking bread. The Goans brought this to Bombay and set up bakeries here. And from here, the popularity of paos or bread rolls spread across the country. Not many may know that even the word pao, that's found its way into several Indian languages, comes from the Portuguese word for bread, pão. Well, coming back to today's video, place the balls a little apart from each other so they have room to expand. Put the pan into a large plastic bag or cover it with a kitchen towel. And then keep it in a warm place till the dough balls double in size. This could take around 45 minutes or more. After 45 minutes, our dough balls have risen well, leaving no gap between them at all. Let's brush their tops with sweetened milk so they'll develop a rich brown color as they bake. We'll bake the rolls in the oven at 190 degrees centigrade for 15 to 17 minutes. Take a look at the baked rolls. They've browned beautifully. Now let's brush the tops with melted butter while they're still warm. I'll cover them with a clean napkin and then we'll check them after a few minutes. As expected, they are now soft and tender and looking delicious too. I'll now transfer them to a cooling rack. I'll separate a few so you can see how well they've baked. Let's cut one of the bread rolls. It's airy and tender and pillow soft. I also baked a smaller batch of 5 loaves on the stove top in a karai using a greased and flour dusted 7-inch round pan. I've shown you my arrangement for baking in a karai in other videos, but let me show you this again. Place a metal ring or trivet inside a thick-walled karai and then put a metal plate on it. Cover it and let it preheat on medium-high for around 6 to 7 minutes. I baked the Ladi Pavs on medium-high for the first 10 minutes, then on low heat for another 20 minutes till they turned brown on the underside, and then for 5 more minutes on medium-high till they were pale brown on top. These took 35 minutes to bake and are lighter brown on the top because, unlike in an oven where the heat comes from above and below, when baking on the stovetop, heat comes only from the flame underneath the karai. Let's brush the tops of these paos with melted butter and keep them covered for a while. These Ladi Paos are somewhat darker brown at the bottom. but they too have baked perfectly. I'll cut one of the paos. It's light and fluffy and soft, just like the ones I baked in the oven. These feather-light paos will taste great with your favorite dishes or even with just butter. So go ahead and give this recipe a shot. In the meanwhile, I look forward to feedback from you once you do try it out. Hope you enjoyed today's video and do stop by again for yet another quick and tasty recipe. Till then, take care. Happy cooking!